exactly going our way.
We have a side.
The Northern Realms.
Radovid's realms, don't you mean? Temeria and Edirn are no more.
Radovid's pledged to restore the old borders, as soon as he wins the war.
Believe that?
Gotta believe something. It's what keeps us going.
White Orchard is a tortured landscape as Geralt and Vesemir ride in, entering almost immediately into a town half razed by the Nilfgaardian invasion. This small town, a day's ride from the Temerian capital of Vizima, is slowly overcoming the loss of their leader and the small-scale war that resulted in their now occupied state.
Nilfgaardian rule to your liking?
What's there to like? 'Tis the same as any other. They tax us, requisition this or that. But they do keep the peace in the village, I'll grant 'em that.
You don't mourn Temeria's passing?
I mourned it round half a year back, when King Foltest was cut down. Now I just want peace.
The problems in White Orchard, however, were certainly present long before the war. Today we'll explore the sad story that undercurrents the past of White Orchard. Upon entering the main town of White Orchard, Geralt finds a notice leading him to a well in an abandoned town, plagued by some wraith. Interestingly, he learns that the well has been haunted for over 20 years.
Greetings, good man. Having trouble with your well? That's what I read.
Aye. 'Tis haunted. Has been for a good 20 years.
20? So why'd you put out a notice just now?
'Cause earlier on we drew our water from the river. But so many corpses floating in it after the battle it's turned noxious. My daughter Mandy drank half a pitcher. Fell dreadful ill, can't keep nothing down. She grows worse by the day.
The infamous well. The Moonwraith. Wonder what it's doing here. Strange, she's not attacking.
As Geralt enters the abandoned town of Havel, he is greeted with the prowling Moonwraith. Oddly, she doesn't immediately attack the Witcher. Exploring the buildings around the well yields the discovery of a yellow-stained diary near a slain body.
A journal. Might be useful.
It's happened. Volker sent a petition of our grievances against the Lord to the court of Vizima, listing all the harm he's done us. How he killed Johann for not taking off his cap quick enough. How he trampled our fields when drunk with nary a thought of repayment. How he barged in during Peter's wedding and demanded his right of the first night. Now we've finally got what we begged Melitele for in our prayers for so long. The judge recognized our grievances and waived all our bonds and duties to the Lord. We can finally strike out on our own. At last, we can live as free men. The first day of our freedom. Havel's not much of a village yet, but to my mind it's better than the most fantastic palace. Volker fumed our home with hazelwood smoke to drive out evil, buried a marten under the gate to make sure the thieves would cross our threshold. Then he gave me a bracelet, the loveliest I've ever seen. Mother said it was foolish to spend so much on a bauble when we haven't ploughs nor hoes, and that we ought return it to the merchant, over my dead body. I'll never take it off. It'll always be there to remind me of Volker, how happy we were that day. They say the Lord is coming to see us, that he wants to make a deal, to beg us to return to the village. They say he's calm since his sons died, that he's not as quick to anger about small slights. Well, we'll see. One way or another, I have no intention of moving an inch from here.
A man. Stabbed with a knife, died on the spot. Animals fed on his body, picked his skeleton clean. More bloodstains over there. But it's not his blood. Bloodstains. Barely visible. Someone was dragged this way. Someone who was still alive. Palm prints in blood. Small hands. A woman's. Someone dragged her out. She was wounded. Fought for her life. No body in sight, but might still find some tracks. Under the right conditions, bloodstains can remain visible for decades. Another print by the well. Bloodstains. Almost faded. But the line's taut. Something's not right. A corpse, hanged by the bucket rope. Woman the journal belonged to. Must be. Wide pelvis, small jaw. A woman. Around 30 judging by the teeth. Left arm's missing. Need to cremate the remains. Gotta find the object that binds her to this place before I do, though. Was she wearing the bracelet from her husband? Might be why her arm fell off. Gotta jump down there. Hope I don't break my legs. Lucky not to come up empty-handed. A bracelet with an inscription. To Claire, from Volker. Bracelet must have belonged to the woman in the well. Lovely craftsmanship, but I'll have to burn it with the body to get rid of the Noonwraith for good. Better do it near the well.
Geralt decided to follow up on the couple's tragedy. Upon further inquiry, the Witcher learned that the local herbalist, Tamira, once knew a Claire. He surmised this was the same woman.
Yes?
Listen, ever heard of a woman named Claire? Lived around here?
Heard of her? A mild way to put it. Claire was a friend. The only person dear to me in all of White Orchard. Until her husband, Volker, quarrelled with the lord of the manor. He then gathered the family, moved out into the woods to start a new settlement. The lord and his retinue rode there to convince them to return. They were to be civil. No forcing, no bloodshed. But you saw. Word is Claire said something about the lord's son, Florian. Something that made the lord furious. But who knows the truth?
Lots of misfortune for such a small village.
'Tis so in every village. Even the smallest. You need only ask. But let's not end on a teary note. Here, a bit of solace.
Later, Geralt meets the hunter Mislav, who once worked under the Lord as the Lord's hunter.
You know him.
Mislav sheds some additional insight
Served
into
at the
this
Lord's
sad
manor
tale.
together, where the Black Army's encamped now. He was a stable hand, I was the Lord's hunter. But that was before... well, a long time ago.
Before what?
Before they drove me from the village.
What did you do?
Nothing. I'm a freak. Sorry. I'd rather not talk about it.
I'm a freak too.
Aye, but of another kind.
If it's lycanthropy, I can help.
What?
Lycanthropy. Werewolves. Handled a few cases in the past. It's usually a simple curse that...
The Lord's son, Florian, and I... we loved each other. Dieter walked in on us in the stables. They drove me away. Florian hanged himself. Lord started drinking, and the estate fell into ruin. That's the long and short of it.
With this final tidbit of information, we can piece together the tragic story of 22 years past in White Orchard. The Lord of White Orchard seems an aggressive man who is power-mad and abusing his position. Claire and Volker, as well as their household, having had enough of his boorish behaviour, petitioned for self-sovereignty. This was granted, and the family began the adjacent settlement of Havel. Back in White Orchard, the Lord's son Florian was caught having an affair with the Lord's hunter Mislav. Homosexuality is not openly accepted in Temeria, particularly in the rural settlements, and particularly among the aristocracy, who require heirs above all. Mislav was banished from the Lord's employ, and Florian stooped into a deep depression, eventually leading to his suicide. Sometime later, the Lord visited Havel to petition the return of Volker and Claire's family to White Orchard. If the rumours the herbalist Tamiro heard were true, in the heat of the argument Claire said something about Florian that made the Lord fly into a rage. One can easily imagine the possible things she may have said. In the Lord's fury, he murdered Volker in front of his wife, and dragged her screaming and clawing to the well where he hanged her from the bucket rope. A sad conclusion to a sad tale. However, it seems the Lord was later hanged by the Nilfgaardian occupation, so in this case at the least, it would seem that one gets what one deserves. I've been Tom. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.